Hello, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome to the Inside Room,
Yeah.
which is a room that I host once a month with illustrious guests. And today I have Lori Wyman, CSA, and she is the busiest casting director in Florida and all the surrounding areas. And just so you have some background on her, she cast Dexter, the Florida portion of Dexter, the Origins, The Right Stuff, Bloodline, Ballers, Bird Notice, The Glades, Magic City, um, and started out, well, she was casting before, but her big recognition as a casting director was when she started casting Miami Vice. Those
Crazy.
were the days, right, Lori?
Yeah.
So Lori is mainly a film and TV casting director. Plus she casts lots of commercials. Um, like I said, film many, many independent films. Um, she casts everything except voiceovers, really. Any actors that are needed, Lori will cast it. So I'm going to let you say hello, Lori, before we start.
Okay. Hello. Hello. I see a lot of you on that I know, of course, and I see a lot of you I saw yesterday and over the last several weeks. So, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and hello to the new people whom I don't know yet.
Okay. So this will unfold and you'll get to know all the wonderful things that Lori is doing as we roll along on this. So yes, Lori is based in Florida, but the information she has is the same as wherever you are auditioning. Lori's rich information will apply to you auditioning, your auditions being recognized. Um, so why don't I start out with, you had mentioned that an actor can, let me just see how you put this. Um, well, everything is self-tape now.
Correct.
And it has been, when I say now, since commercially, since COVID. Um, and a lot of times, some roles before COVID, theatrically,
Yes.
everybody, when I mention theatrically, I mean film and television. Some roles were self-tape before that. So let me just start out by asking you, how do you like this self-taping process?
I love it for a lot of reasons. Maybe one or two reasons I don't. So I'll tell you why I love it and maybe the reasons that I'm not crazy about it. Um, The reason I love it is because in the old days, you as an actor, I'm in Miami, I'm doing an audition in Miami, or I've done projects all over the state of Florida, and I've done a lot of films in Savannah, Georgia, that area. I just did one a couple months ago, shooting in Washington, D.C., in that area. Well, that's a lot of travel, and that's a lot of travel for the actor, and it would be a lot of travel for me as well. I remember doing a movie years ago, and it was shooting in Jacksonville and Tallahassee, and I had to do casting in Miami and be there present, casting in Orlando, be there, casting in Jacksonville, be there, and back and forth and back and forth. And then the actors, when we did the callback, we picked one place and we decided to do that in Miami. The director had to come down, producer, writer, everybody, all the actors had to come down. For those of you who experienced live and in person auditions before COVID, you knew and you know that sometimes you would have just an audition, not a callback, just the pre-read, and you would drive 4, 5, 6 hours each way to do your audition and then drive 4, 5, 6 hours to come home. And then you'd get a call the next day and say, yeah, they want to see you on a call back 2 days later. Drive all the way back. Drive. It's a lot. And so I remember one time I was doing Ballers, and there was this actor who was so desperately wanted to get in it. And we did the pilot in person, the casting for the pilot in person. The rest of it was self tapes. And this poor guy came down from Atlanta. The actor lived in Atlanta, walked in the room. So, what is it, like 12-hour drive? Walked in the room, nervous. You know, you're an actor, you're nervous. That's normal. And he couldn't remember his dialogue. The 12-hour drive really got to him. The nerves got to him. It was a conglomeration of just crazy. And he couldn't do the dialogue in front of the producer. And finally we said, just hold the dialogue. And he goes, but I know it. I'm like, okay, well, you don't, because you don't. So either hold the dialogue and just get through it, or we just can't keep watching you start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. However, if you're doing a self tape, we never see that. We only see the finished product, and we see the good finished product, the perfected finished product. That's the good news for you and the good news for me as a casting director. I get to see, hopefully, the best takes of every actor. I can't tell you how many actors have walked into callback casting and callback rooms with me and have just fallen apart, and literally fallen apart with the nerves. Now, that hopefully won't mean that you're going to do that on the set, but there's a lot of pressure that an actor puts on themselves for the casting, where they may not put that same pressure on themselves for the actual shoot, because the pressure is kind of off when they book it. Once they book it, oh, I got it. Now I can really just work on it. But the casting, there's a lot more at stake for the casting. There's a job at stake. Once you get the job, okay, I got the job. So another reason that I love self tapes is because when I'm doing a casting, and let's say again, I'm doing it in Miami, an Orlando actor, I read a lot of people from all over the state of Florida. An Orlando actor is about a 3.5, 4 hour drive each way. Well, a lot of people can't do that. They work at Universal, they work at Disney, they work a job, and they can't come down Tuesday at 2, in the middle of the day, take 4 hours to drive down, 4 hours to drive back. So there are a lot of actors who were not able to come on a casting, because I would do my castings in the middle of a work day as well, because it's my work day as well. This way, I can see actors from all over the state of Florida, from all over the country, essentially. If you live in Georgia, you live in Louisiana, you're at school up in New York, or you're visiting a friend in California, you don't have to miss out on an audition. And I know for me, once I started watching all these self tapes, I started watching the mistakes that actors would make, little tweakies with lighting, with sound, with backdrop, with framing. I mean, there's a lot. So not only do you have to be an actor, you have to be a techie, you have to know how to do. Oh, go ahead, Terry.
Lori, I want to get into that in a while, but I
Oh,
think
okay.
there's a very rich subject here,
I know.
because you said people drive 6 hours from all over Florida, from New York. So do you care about local hire? Like, how do you handle that?
So local hire, so for all of you, it doesn't matter where you are. If you know of a place that you want to work, you need to nowadays, for the most part, be a local hire. What does that mean? That means that you have your own place to stay. That means if your call time is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday, you're there 7 a.m. on a Wednesday. I don't know how you got there. I don't care how you got there. I don't know if you slept in your car. I don't know how you got there. But all I know is you're local, and my production doesn't have to worry about flying you, housing you, transporting you, etc. So most projects, and it doesn't matter, you're in LA, and whether you're in LA or New York, I'm in Florida, or I'm doing a project in Georgia, or DC, um, they're all out to save money. And so they can't afford to fly everybody in and give everybody a hotel room. It would be great, but they can't. So the requirement is must be a local hire. So when this is what I do, and every casting director does something just a little different, but the result would be the same. When I ask you to slate, please say that you will be a local hire to Orlando, to Savannah, to wherever. Now, some places, that's good enough. That is good enough. It doesn't matter. You just say, I will be a local hire. Some places want you, insist that you have a local address wherever you're shooting. Uh, a lot of people have friends in various locales. So if you have a friend in Miami, may I use your address? A friend in LA, may I use your address? A friend in Savannah, may I use your address? Atlanta, etc. Um, but if it says you must be a local hire, then you have to be a local hire, and we can't don't and this has been done to me, and I don't know if you've experienced it. It's not nice where an actor, oh yeah, I'll be a local hire, and then they book it, and then their agent calls me and says, oh yeah, they're not local. They can't be a local hire. Now you're going to have to fly them. You're going to have to house them. You're going to have to, etc. Um, thank goodness that has only happened to me a handful of times. But what happens is, of course, I will never work with that actor again, and I may not work with that agent again because I can't trust them. And you don't want to be that. If you can't work as a local hire and the requirement is that you work as a local hire, then you may just have to pass on that particular audition. Or, as some actors I know, they've slept in their cars, because depending on where you're at in your career, maybe you're building your resume and you're building your reel. So you're just going to take as many jobs as you can and you'll figure it out. If you're,
And I,
yeah,
yeah, when you get a chance, but
yeah,
when
no,
you're ready.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Perfect time when you said, you're going to take as many jobs as you can. Actors, please be realistic. Please be honest with casting and yourself. Please be very, very, very careful of what you're saying you can do and what's realistic. For instance, this was for a commercial. I had someone who said she was a local hire
Mm,
because she is used to working in New York and LA, flies back and forth, doesn't mind eating up the expenses. But it was that time of year when um, there was a lot of airline problems with weather.
mm,
And it wasn't the winter, but there was for days, she was actually stuck in the air. She did her due diligence and left to come to LA 2 days before the shoot.
okay.
But she was stuck at the airport for 2 days. She did not make that shoot.
Oh,
So please, 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 if you're flying,
right.
I would say to protect yourself and your reputation as an actor and to protect the casting director, that's Lori used the word trust, that's trusting you. I'm going to go out and say, give yourself 4 days buffer if you're flying and be there 4 days before even and stay with your friend and have some other things to do. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's and if you drive, um, I just did I just did a television series which is coming out this month called Bad Monkey. Marcel, we were calling it Marcel at the time, but I believe now they've changed it to the real name, which is called Bad Monkey. And there were actors that auditioned that said, yes, I can work as a local hire. And then when they realized, because this is another thing you have to realize, it happens with film and it happens with television. You say you can work as a local hire. and you're working 3 days and you're thinking, well, that's great. However, it's Monday of this week, Thursday of this week, and Wednesday of next week, which means it's spread out over a week and a half. So you have to find a place to stay for a week and a half, or you need a hotel for a week and a half. Or so this one guy that I wanted to book on actually I wanted to book him on a movie recently, and it was a lower budget movie, so they were not paying the days in between. And I said to him, well, it's Monday, Thursday, and next Wednesday. And he said, well, I'm going to have to fly back and forth. I need 2 plane tickets. I said, or stay. He goes, I don't have anyone to stay with. And I finally said, he says, is there any way production can help me? I'm like, no, you auditioned for this knowing, because this particular actor used to live in Florida. He neglected to tell me he didn't live in Florida anymore. So he auditioned, he booked it, and now he lives in like New Jersey or something. And so there's a whole bunch of different variables. Maybe if it's a 1 or 2 days in a row shoot, then you fly in, you fly out. But if it's something that's spread out,
Mhm.
just think about it. Just think about it, because it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no to a project. It's better, I say, it's better to say no to the project than say yes and either not be able to come in, or when it comes right down to it, you cancel at the last minute because you realize that um you cannot afford, time wise or financially, you can't afford to do the job. Better to say no. Better to say give to give up the audition in the first place. If we asked you to audition for a project, that means we like you. We'll ask you again, you know? If somebody asked me a question once, strange question, I say strange question, but not from the actor's perspective. And they said, if I audition for you and I don't book it, does that mean you will never audition me again? And I said, why would you say that? They said, but if I don't book it, I said, look, if I asked you to audition, that means I like you. And I might ask 10 people to audition for that role, and I like all of them. Only one of you is going to book. 10 people don't book the same one role. So what does that mean? Those 9 other actors that I really liked, I'm never going to audition them again? Of course not. So don't worry. If you are invited to audition, that means we like you. And if you book, great. If you don't book, we'll read you again. Yeah, Tara.
It goes back to what you had mentioned earlier, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it, which this is perfect, because you were talking about actors being nervous when they come in to audition, why it's better to self-tape. So what can you tell actors to help them not be so nervous?
Wow. If I could just bottle that. Fortune. Um, Nerves is very real. Nerves is a very real thing in human beings. And it's this right here. That's what it is. It's not anything physical, because when you walk into the room, let me just tell you something, and I know a lot of you already know this. From a casting director, Terry, I know, would agree with this. We want you to be good. We want you to be the answer to our dilemma. And our dilemma is we need to find an actor for this role. So every
Mhm.
time an actor comes in, we're praying that you're going to be the right one. We're praying that you're going to be good, that you're going to blow everybody else out of the water, that you're going to come in and the producers and the directors going to go, "Wow, they're great." That's what we want. So when you
Mhm.
go into an audition, we never think, "Oh, I hope they mess up." We never think
Yeah.
that, because you are a reflection on us. You are our work. You know what I mean? So if I bring in 10 great actors, look at me, pat me on the back. I did a great job. If I bring in 10 actors that fall apart, that start crying, that can't remember their lines, that need to lay down because they're nervous or they're going to throw up or whatever, I've had it all. I've had it all. Um, this doesn't make us look good. Don't you have any good actors here? And so um so just know that when you're walking into that room, you've got an audience that is pulling for you. So that's number one. Another thing with nerves, this goes back to if it's an in-person thing, do not talk to anybody in the waiting room. Do not talk
Mhm.
to anybody in the waiting room because that's all nervous energy out there. And sometimes actors might say something to you, maybe intentionally to throw you off, or maybe not even intentionally, maybe because they're nervous. So you walk in wearing a blue suit and someone across the way is wearing a black suit. And the guy in the black suit goes, "Uh-oh, why is he wearing a blue suit? Oh no,
Yeah,
no." I think
right.
things and might say something to you like, why are you wearing a blue suit? I was told that we were supposed to wear a black suit. So now
Right.
you're processing that in your brain and you walk in the room and in your mind you're thinking, I'm dressed wrong. I've seen it. I've actually
Me
had actors,
too.
right?
Me too. Someone came in, apologized. I'm sorry, I'm dressed wrong. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, he's out there in a suit. I should have been in a suit. No, he's dressed wrong.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I saw something once. I mean, I'm sure Terry and I could just, for the next 2 hours, just share stories like that. But I remember I had two actors coming in for an audition for a commercial. It was a callback. And one actor walked out. He had dark hair and he walked out. And there was another actor in the waiting room who had blonde hair. And the blonde hair guy used to book all the commercials. And the brunette walks out of the room and he says, I shouldn't tell you this, but I overheard the client say they don't want any blondes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. So this blonde actor gets a hold of me and starts yelling at me. Why am I here? Why are they wasting my time? And I started laughing. And the guy with the brunette hair was standing in the doorway and he was laughing. And he goes, oh, you know better than to listen to me. But by that point, the blonde guy, his face was beet red. He had worked himself up into such a frenzy. And I looked at him and I went, your turn. So he
Yeah.
walked, but so he walked into that room with the clients. I'm sure his heart was pounding, his blood pressure was up. And so that's one suggestion. Do not talk, do not engage with anybody out in the waiting room. You are your own person. If you're wearing clown pants and a big red nose, that's your choice. I don't care if nobody else in the waiting room is dressed that way. And when you go in, don't forget, I wrote a little book. I know some of you have it called The Organic Actor. And I have like tiny little morsels pertaining to all this because I can't read giant chapters, so I made them all tiny little. And one of them is entitled Don't Forget to Breathe. Because what happens is when people get nervous, they don't breathe. It's like they jam up. And then I go, breathe, breathe, breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And the breathing will pace you. The breathing will calm your nerves. Focus on breathing, you know? And that really helps as well. So there's all different ways that people overcome nerves.
I,
Sometimes, what?
I just had an idea from something you said,
Okay,
especially now with the internet and social media.
right.
I would also suggest to get to know that casting director that you're going in to read for.
Mhm.
So you feel more familiar with them because you're already invited. So, like Lori was saying, it's in your head. You yourself have to feel that you're wanted and welcome.
Right.
And part of that could be to get to know the casting director simply by looking at their social media, looking at like Lori has once a week, once a month,
Yeah, office hours.
office hours where you can actually be in the room with her once a month. We'll get to all that though, how you can contact and find out about all. So long story short, I just want to interject that it's so easy now to get to know the casting director. So when you go into that room, you feel in relationship.
Yes. And you can find out their likes, their dislikes. And the same with if you're auditioning for a movie or a TV show, and if the TV show, we talked about this yesterday on Office Hours, if the TV show is on the air, watch an episode of it to get the feel, what kind of acting, or with commercials. Oh, that years ago there were big commercial directors, Joe Pitka, remember his name, and there are a lot of big commercial directors. Um, Watch some of those commercials. Let's say you're auditioning for, I don't know what Colgate toothpaste. I don't know. So let me watch a few little Colgate toothpaste commercials to see what they look for. Let's see what the actors wear on those commercials. Oh, they always look at that. They always wear green sweaters or whatever it might be. There's all different kinds of things that you can do to research. We have now, which we didn't have when I started in the business, we have Google, we have ways to watch, to explore, to research, where you can find out, every time anybody appears in a Popeyes commercial, they're always wearing a white button-down shirt and a black tie. And I'm making all that up, so don't write that down. But that can help you with, oh, I want to look like a Popeyes employee because I'm auditioning for a Popeyes employee. If you are auditioning for a Hallmark movie, um, watch a Hallmark movie and say, oh, this is what they look like. This is, they don't look radical. They don't have purple hair that's shaved to one side and oversized red glasses, like a person looked like when they auditioned for me for a Hallmark movie. And when they walked in, I thought, I can't send that to my, they'll think I'm crazy. Like, ma'am, do you not know what the Hallmark actors look like? So
Mhm.
make sure that you can exemplify whatever that character looks like, whether it's a Hallmark movie, whether it's a Popeye's chicken, whether it's a Steven Spielberg film, you know. If there's a book that preceded the movie. So this Marcel television series I did was a book called Bad Monkey, written by Carl Hyacin. Very campy, very a little twisted, a little out there. Well, maybe you don't want to read the whole book before an audition. Maybe you want to just kind of go online and get the synopsis. Oh, okay, it's a little off. It's a little campy. It's a little quirky. And so there's a lot of things that you guys can do, even if it's not in the actual breakdown. If right now in Atlanta, and I think there's many of you on here that are in the Atlanta area, there is a television series called Will Trent, and they're starting up casting for their third season. Well, it's been on for 2 seasons. Watch an episode and see, what do their people look like? What is the acting like? Is it very fast paced and they talk really fast? Or is it kind of slow and southern? I don't know what it is, but that's your job, to watch an episode if you're auditioning for that television show and say, oh, okay, I get it. I see what I see. So there's a lot you have control over. And if you are self-taping, do that research. If you're walking in the room, do the research, and don't forget about the other components of breathing, pacing yourself. Don't talk to the people in the waiting room.
I'm
Yeah.
going to get to self-taping in a moment.
Okay.
I just want to ask you though, people on here from LA, just say they want to audition for you. You're in Florida, which is a right to work state. What if someone's union? Like, how does that work? Because I'm assuming the film you were talking about, where there were days in between and they weren't paying for those days in between, had to be non-union because union-wise, they are holding.
Well, that one happened to be union.
Oh, so they can
It
do.
because of the contract. There's so many different contracts.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like a modified, low
So what if
budget.
someone's union and they're working in a right to work state? Like, how does that work for them?
Well, apparently, Screen Actors Guild overrules the right to work. So if you are a member of Screen Actors Guild and you want to work in Florida, and we are a right to work state, so the flip side of that is if you are only working in right to work states, so those might be Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Louisiana, that those southern southeastern states, those are all right to work meaning you have the right to work and you do not have to join the union, meaning you can do a union job or a non-union job. So there's that. But if you are already union and you want to live in New York or you want to live in Los Angeles, California, those are not right to work states. In order for you to work in California or to work in New York on a SAG project, you have to be a member of Screen Actors Guild. If you choose to stay Screen Actors Guild, technically, you're not allowed to work a non-union job, no matter whether it's a right to work state or not. But what you can do, and what I've been seeing more and more and more of a lot, I've been casting for the last 5 years or more these movies that are Lifetime slash Hallmark. I've probably cast about 30 to 35 of in that number, 30, 35 movies. And most of them, not 100%, most of them are non-union, but they're really good. I mean, they're a lot of fun, and a lot of actors have gotten some really, really nice roles. And when we look for our leads, we put it out nationally, and I get, no joke, 3,000 submissions for just the two leads, many of them coming out of California. And I can't tell you how many of those actors are what they call financial core. So financial core, FI-CORE, means they were a member of Screen Actors Guild and they're on a withdrawal from SAG. So they are known as dues paying non-members. So they keep paying their dues, but what financial core allows for them to do is to work both sides. They can work union, they can work non-union in a state like California or in a state like New York. If you are going to only be in right to work states, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, there's all over the country, there's a bunch of right to work states. My suggestion would be don't join SAG in the first place, unless you want to go to a New York or a California, in which case you join SAG and then you become financial core. So I get a lot, so I know there's a lot of actors out there in California that were SAG and have gone financial core so that they can then work both sides. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to ask you two more questions, and then I'm sort of eyeballing that there's a lot of questions.
Okay.
So, because we're trying to keep this to about an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Um, so I've heard you say that there are ways actors, when they self-tape,
Mm.
um, that they can, there's a way they can self-tape that will put them to will give them an advantage in their auditions. Or did I pick that up wrong? Can
No, no, yeah.
you
So,
talk a
so
little?
how can you,
What gives an actor advantage?
right.
How can they do a self-tape that puts them at an advantage? How's that?
So here are ways. I mean, they're not 100% guarantee, but they're definitely ways to put you up the ladder. So one is the big one is when you get a self tape, do not wait until the last possible moment to submit it. I can't tell you how many times I put out a breakdown and I start getting emails, like the next day from agents, from actors. I missed the deadline. I missed it. I was right in the middle of uploading and it shut down on me. I'm like, well, why did you wait until 11 o'clock on Tuesday night? Why didn't you do it at 8 o'clock when the deadline was 11? I had an agent one time. This is astounding to me. It was Christmas Eve day. This was a couple of years ago. So Christmas Eve day is like vacation. I am in North Carolina. I am at an art gallery. I'm with friends that are in from out of town.
Where was I?
Yeah, because you came for the summer. And and my cell phone rang. And it was a New York phone number. And I thought, I'll answer it. And it was a woman, she was an agent. And she said, uh, my actors missed the deadline. You're going to need to
Oh,
extend, oh, yes, you're going to need to extend the deadline so they can get their videos in. And I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. Hey, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am. I said, it's Christmas Eve and I'm pretty much on vacation. And I said, and I don't know how to do that. I have had an assistant for 13 years. I don't know how to do that. And she said, call your assistant. I said, yeah, see, that's not going to happen. I said, not on Christmas Eve day. That's not going to happen. And this woman got so belligerent and so nasty. And I said, you've had a week. I don't send it to you at 9 in the morning and say, I need it by noon, you know? And I said, you've had a week. Your actors had a week to do this. I'm sorry. She was livid. I'm sure if my name ever comes up, that woman probably trashes me. I was very nice, but I couldn't do what she wanted me to do. Don't wait till the last minute. I had an agent once um, when I was doing Bloodline. And at the time, like right now, you guys, you get an invite. Make sure you update your Actors Access, by the way. They just changed something, right?
good. I was gonna slip into that. So let's get to my last
Okay, go ahead,
question,
because
which
I
say,
want to make sure the
yeah,
actors.
it's about the profile that you have mentioned that there are ways that actors
Yes.
can be at an advantage by their Actors Access profile. So can you talk a little about that, what you're
I would,
starting to do? And
yes.
that's my
Okay,
question.
good. Perfect. I would love to. So getting your audition in early, as early as you can without compromising the performance is definitely one way to get higher up. Make sure you have a resume on your Actors Access profile. I can't tell you how many Actors Access profiles I receive when an agent submits somebody, and I may not know you, so I go to look at your resume, and all I see are special skills. That doesn't say you're an actor. So I assume, terrible thing, but I assume since there's no credits, well, you're not an actor. So let me just tell you,
I
and yes,
agree with everything you're saying. I've had the same experience.
right? And
Yep.
make sure the headshots that you have on your site, on your profile, are professional headshots, not something that your cousins, brothers, nephews, uncle is handy with an iPhone. Not that kind of headshot. A professional, like, if and some people say, well, Lori, that's expensive. And I go, then start saving your money. Because see, I always say you have one chance to make a first impression. And if the first set of headshots I see on you are out of focus and fuzzy and not professional, your hair's not done, your makeup's not done, doesn't look right, I'm going to remember you. Casting directors have uncanny memories, right, Terry? We remember people. I don't know how. We remember people. If I met you 10 years ago on a casting, I'll tell you who you are, what you read for, what the project was, and you may not even remember me, but we remember. So when somebody says, "Oh, I want to submit so and so," I go, "No, no, they don't have a resume and they don't have." Oh, they do now. They do now. Well, they didn't, and now I'm beyond that. Make sure now. Keep in mind, Actors Access primarily is for film and television auditions. We're not talking casting networks at this point. We're talking Actors Access. Actors Access is for film and television auditions. So, having said that, having said that, make sure your resume reflects that. At the top of your resume should be your film and television credits, not your special skills, not your training, not your commercials. So make sure you have it in the right order. And quickly, it is film and television at the top, theater, and then instead of listing commercials, don't list your commercials. I would say put conflicts upon request or list upon request. I don't care what commercials you've done for film and television, A, and B, if I am casting a commercial and I happen to put it on Actors Access, the only thing I really care about is if you've done another commercial that conflicts with the one we are casting. So if I'm doing a Coca-Cola, I got to make sure you don't have Pepsi on there. But let's say you're like, well, I want to put my commercials, and you put Pepsi, but you did a Pepsi commercial 12 years ago. It hasn't run for 10 years. If the Coca-Cola client sees Pepsi on your resume, it doesn't matter that you were 4 years old when you did it. They will not consider you. It is a thing. It is a thing. So it's better just to say commercials, conflicts upon request. That way, maybe you've got 50 commercials. Maybe you have two. I don't know. I don't care. It looks a little more impressive. Then don't forget your training. And you've got to have training. Who did you study with? If you went to college and you got a BFA in acting, well, you got a lot of professors you studied with. Put those on your resume. And training is not just acting training. Training could be acting, could be singing, could be dancing, all of the arts. We don't care that you have a degree in engineering. Engineering has nothing to do with this industry. Keep your credits pertaining to the arts. And we also don't want to see that you were a first AD and you were a PA and you're a set designer. That's a different resume. So your acting resume is what belongs on your Actors Access profile. If you speak other languages, very important. Instruments you play, sports you play, because any of that could lend itself to your actual audition. So, and then at the bottom, now I'm going to say something. I don't know, Terry, if you agree with this or not, but this is just something that I came up with. At the bottom, they ask you for your height and your weight, hair color, eye color, you can put that in. I always recommend to ladies, put your height, don't put your weight. Now, the reason that I recommend this is because a 5'6" lady, a 5'6" lady could weigh 150 pounds, but she could be 150 solid pounds. She works out, she's in great shape. 150 sounds like a lot for a 5'5" person. And you could look at two different people, the same height and the same weight, and their body composition can look completely different. So, and clients have a thing in their head. How much does she weigh? That's a lot of weight. Wow, she's a big girl. I just say, let them look at you and let them say, oh, yeah, she looks good or she doesn't look good. I hate that that number can sway a client. Oh, she's too big. They're too big. That's just my thought. So I always suggest to ladies specifically. I had a woman, I was going over her resume with her recently, and she had 180 pounds as her weight, and she wasn't 7 feet tall. And I said to her, take that off. Take that off. I said, that's a lot for a woman. I said, and she said, well, I'm losing weight. I said, that's fine. Just take that off. So that's my spiel for that. Yes, ma'am, Terry.
I agree with that theatrically. For commercials, it's not that the clients see it, but for commercials, it's so specific sometimes. We want someone a little curvy. We want someone a little chunky. We
Mhm.
want someone um, thin but healthy looking, not bony, skinny. And as a casting director, I know how to gauge height and weight. So it's not for my clients, but for commercially, we do want height and weight because it helps us with the selection and who we're considering. The clients don't look at that. They
No,
don't see that.
And that might be, I just think for film and television, you know,
I agree with film
these
and
girls
television
are like,
because it's really about your acting
I
and
know, I know.
yeah,
It should be about your acting. That's what this is
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Don't let anybody, don't let, and another thing this is a little bit different, but you asked how people stand out. Be careful with social media posts
Hmm.
because this is another way to stand out, and maybe a good way or maybe in a not good way. Um, I would highly recommend, and I've seen this.
And I've seen this. I,
Oh, Kathy,
Whoops.
you, Kathy. I would highly recommend you stay away from political posts, one way or the other. I would highly recommend you stay away from posting pictures of yourself partying at night and getting dead drunk. I've seen those because what it says to me is, oh, they that's 3 posts this week where they went out to bars and got trashed. Do I want to introduce that to my client? I don't think so. So be careful what you put. I always say I try to stay vanilla. I try to stay vanilla. I try not to be too controversial because, you know, this is a business. And I don't really care what your beliefs are, or I don't care. But if you start to get too one way or the other, contentious, or something along those lines, that tends to put people off. You want to stay as neutral as you can so that you're not, rah, 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 I'm anti this and pro this. And um, that's just my personal feeling to keep it because now social media, we look at social media.
So do the clients before
And yes,
they producers and directors look too.
exactly.
After I've seen them, the person leaves the room for a callback
Mhm.
and they'll quickly look them up on social media.
Yeah, yeah. And they want to see if you have a following, but they also want to see,
Mine aren't looking for a following, actually. They're looking to
oh, they're
see
looking for that.
basically, they want to get a more of a feel for you than they got in the 10 minutes. You're lucky if it's 10 minutes that you've
Right,
been in the room with them.
right, right.
And why? Because they can, because that's how life is now.
Now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you
Well,
responsible? Yep.
yeah, exactly. Um, there's tons of questions that
I
I see.
see.
And
I
I have
see.
to go about another 15 minutes. So Jamie, do you want to hop on and give us some of the questions that you have grabbed
sure.
there? And what we're
Yeah,
going to do when
absolutely.
it's your question is we're going to bring you in the room with us. So everyone can see you. You'll be talking to us directly, and Lori will answer your question, and maybe I'll chime in.
Perfect. So we've got a lot of really great questions. So we'll try to get to as many as we can.
Okay.
If we run out of time, anyone can feel free to follow up by emailing us at info@berlandcasting.com. I'll put that in the chat as well, and then we can address your questions off camera as soon as we're able to get to that. But first and foremost, I know that you ladies talked about it a little bit before. Um, but Nick McDowell had a question. If you want to come up, um, specifically, you addressed already some common actors' access mistakes that people can make, and so I think we kind of addressed that question. But also, what are the typical timelines for you for a casting job, just so that actors can understand the process and
Should
waiting
I
period we
add him as a
experience? So,
spotlight?
Nick, do you have a follow up?
Would you
Yeah,
add
I'll
Nick?
spotlight him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you for having
Hi.
us.
Hi,
Yeah.
Nick. Where do
Yeah,
you
so
live?
that was
Where do you
I live in
live?
Chicago. I live in Chicago, but I
Ah,
also do I'm in Atlanta area and everything. So kind of
Well,
covering the Midwest and the coast.
great.
But yeah, so that was kind of my question is like are there common actors access mistakes that either like send a red flag to casting that this person is not ready and or something that maybe actors unknowingly know that they're holding them back?
Well,
Unless it's
I would have to say, yeah, yeah, well, got you. I would have to say resume, pictures, um, getting your tapes in early, specifically on time, but early makes you look. And those are the things. If it says you have to be a local hire, sometimes we ask you to put in the notes when you submit. You said you're in Chicago. Let's say I'm doing a movie that's shooting in Savannah, Georgia. You know, you say you also work in the Atlanta area. So I say, because this happens all the time, I don't know why people don't do what we ask, but I say, please, if I don't know the actor, and yeah, the agents know if I know the actor or not, please say in the submission notes, yes, they can work as a local hire. I could get 1,000 submissions, and in no time, 500 of them, I don't even consider because there's no notes that say, yes, I can work as, and it's like, well, I can't start. I'm going to read you. Okay, there's this guy, Nick. He looks good, but he doesn't say he can work as a local hire in the submission notes. So should I let him audition and then he'll do a slate? And I say, please say you can work as a local hire in the slate, and you don't do that either. Then what? Then because that happens. So I think the best advice I can say is just you and or your agent make sure they follow the directions. Like just do what we ask you to do. It makes our job easier, which in turn allows you to, look higher up in on our food chain here. Yeah, Terry?
I'd add also check your profile every once in a while. There are times when it indicated that there's a demo reel on there and there's not. So I'll write a note, to the agent and say, or if it's direct, there's no demo reel. Oh, I didn't realize that. So there's check quite often that it's the way you want it.
But
Thank you.
also, as far as demo reel, one more thing. A
Hmm.
demo reel, let's say you're auditioning for um, a horror movie and you've got all kinds of, this might not be you, but in general, you've got things like a Disney movie on your demo reel and you've got a Hallmark movie on your demo reel. And the one clip that would be for the horror movie is at the very, very end of your demo reel. If I watch the first two clips and one's Disney and one's Hallmark, I might say, yeah, I don't see him as that. So Actors Access, my understanding, will separate your reel into clips. Only submit the clip that applies to the kind of audition or the kind of role that you're auditioning for. This way, we will go right to it instead of watching the first clip. That's not right. Second clip. That I don't have time to watch 2, 3 minutes worth of clips on every actor, hoping that at some point down the road in that little audition clip, I'm going to find what I'm looking for. So take just the clip that applies to whatever the role is you're auditioning for, and that's the one I would post for that particular audition. Don't you think?
Yeah, makes sense
Yeah,
to me.
I want to add about what you've been saying about submitting early.
Yes.
What happens is it's a gift to us when you submit early because we can start watching early. Maybe put in an hour today, this morning, an hour in the afternoon, an hour in the evening. So you have a better chance because if you submit at the last minute, all we already went through leisurely
The time pressure.
without the pressure. Yeah. And we are enjoying the process then.
Hmm.
We enjoy seeing your work. We enjoy everyone listening here with us. Like we enjoy watching you make the character come alive. And then when it comes to the end, and there's tons and tons of them left, we have pressure and we're going through it and as much as we can and as humanly as much as many as possible. And it just could be that last hour on that last day and sometimes our clients switch on us. And in the middle, they say, instead of submitting tomorrow, we really want to see them tonight. So
Right.
we have to send in what we've seen already. So I just wanted to add to that so you don't think we're just being hard-nosed about you
No,
meet our deadlines.
Yeah.
Like we
no,
want you to be part of our process and understand it.
Correct.
absolutely. I think, and I want to respect everyone else's time with questions and stuff, but it was kind of coupled in with my intro that we kind of are touching upon now. Are there kind of typical timelines that we see with film, TV, commercial? That way, actors have a better understanding of where it's very much a waiting period for us, but that we can have a better understanding, like what's kind of the typical protocol of after submission and you are reviewing the tapes. So we're kind of aware of what the process is going on behind the scenes. And that's my final question. Thank you.
Well, all the dates. We give it to you. We tell you when the callback is,
If there's
and
a
we tell you
callback.
when the shoot is, and
Right.
I'll let Lori take it from there. But
Yeah,
you actually are given the timeline.
you are, and it should be in the breakdown. If for some reason there's a question that you have and you don't have the answer, ask. Send a note. If it's Actors Access directly and it's not through an agent, then you can respond and just say, hey, I want to make sure I'm available for your shoot. I didn't see shoot dates. And sometimes they leave it out. I mean, sometimes they leave it out. Or if you have an agent, then say to your agent, look, I know I'm going away next month. Could you check? Ask the question. I always say better to ask the question than make the mistake. Yeah. And you can ask. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you both.
All right. You're welcome. And off you go.
Welcome. The beauty.
Okay, Jamie, who's the
All
next?
right, perfect. So, this one I think will be a quick answer, but since you work in the Southeast, Lori, I figured this would be a good one for you. Valerie Rash has a question about whether Southern accents help or hinder you getting booked for certain roles. So, Valerie, if you're still here and you want to come up,
There's Valerie.
spotlight you. There you
Oh,
go.
there you are. Hello.
Where do you live, Valerie?
You're muted, Valerie.
Now you can hear my accent.
Where
Where
are
do you
you?
live?
I am from the Panhandle. I'm from Calhoun County, and I'm a seventh generation Floridian, so the South runs strong in my accent.
It's a great accent. And the answer to your question, again, it depends on what you're auditioning for. There are some auditions that specifically want the Southern accent. I have an actress friend of mine who comes out of, I think Charlotte, North Carolina, and she's got a nice little Southern accent, and she books a lot with her nice little Southern accent. What you might want to do, and that's a great accent, probably clients will love it, but you may want to, maybe you already have, either work with a dialect coach or work on yourself to flatten it a little. Because if you're auditioning for something that's supposed to take place in New York or is supposed to take place in Chicago or somewhere where there's definitely not a Southern accent, you would have to flatten it. But if that's your regular accent and there is no indication what they want, then just do you. Just do
Okay.
you. Also, if you are requested to audition, so now I've met you and I say, oh, Valerie Rash has that cute little Southern accent. If I've requested you to audition, then I already know that about you. So I'm looking for that.
Okay.
So make sure that the people, you said you're in the Panhandle, make sure the casting directors who are in your vicinity or around Florida or Georgia, because you're kind of in between both, make sure they know who you are and make sure they've heard how you speak, and yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. All All right. Bye-bye, Valerie.
Awesome. Thank you, Valerie. So moving down the line here. So on that note, Don Bauer has a question for you, Lori. So if Don Bauer is still here, we'd love to bring you up. It's about being SAG and wondering if there are enough opportunities for SAG projects around your market.
Hi, sorry, I'm cleaning my house, leaving town tomorrow morning. So
That's great. Are I wasn't clear. Are you a member of SAG?
I am. So
And
I'm a member of SAG. I moved to Florida. It's almost been 3 years. I'm now like, okay, I have an agent in Nebraska. I have an agent in Denver. My agent that I had in LA no longer works with SAG actors, which is fine because I don't think she was a good match for me. So anyway, I want to get going down here. I want to get an agent. I need new headshots. But I heard you talking about SAG, and I'm just wondering, are there enough opportunities down here for people that are SAG?
so here's my recommendation. I created a website called The Organic Actor,
Okay.
same name as the book, theorganicactor.com. This website is specifically for actors. It's not got nothing to do with my casting. It's all about actors. And there's photographers and agents and classes and videos and all kinds of things in there. I would recommend that you go on there to
Okay.
to explore agents and where in Florida are you?
I'm in Cape Coral. I started making a list of agents in the
Okay, on the
Tampa
West
and
Coast.
Orlando
Mhm.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's several,
There's,
and you can also tap into Orlando because it's Orlando and Tampa is kind of one market.
yeah.
Okay, so that's one thing to do. The other thing I would recommend if you're going to stay in Florida, if you're going to Florida, Georgia, you want to do that area, I would
Yep.
recommend that you explore the financial core that I mentioned
Okay.
because if you're going to stay in a right to work state, if you're not
Mhm.
planning on going back to California or New York, if you're not planning on doing that and you know you're going to stay in the Southeast, I would explore that this way. You can work both sides. You can work union, you can work non-union because there's not a lot of union work right now in the right to work states.
Okay.
That's my
So,
answer. Yeah, Karen.
yeah, I'd like to add to that, Dawn, because the other agents that you mentioned that you have are also in right to work states.
Mm.
And there is no shame on becoming Phi Corps.
Mhm.
Phi Corps started when the union started. It's that old. It's been in existence that long. It was never popular, and we didn't hear about it for years because there was so much union work. It was so prolific, and everyone was making a lot of money doing union work. Phi Corps was started for people who needed financial help and they couldn't make enough money to survive for their living just with union work. So the union started this thing called Financial Corps, so you could work both.
Mhm.
So there is no shame in it. The union probably will give you a hard time, but there's just more non-union work, unfortunately, now than union, and that is open to you, and there is no shame in it.
Okay.
Right.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right.
Great. Love that. Okay, so quite a few people asked this one in the chat. So rather than bring up, like 15 people, if you wouldn't mind addressing this quickly, ladies. I know you talked about it a little bit, but when you get so many submissions coming in for a lot of these roles and everything, what are some things, in both of your opinions, that actors can do to stand out positively in their self-tape for different projects?
In their self-tape or to get invited to submit a self-tape in the first place?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Honestly, if two-parter, I think both would be
Right.
valuable.
Because I Um,
The people who asked this raise their hands, so they were all in one place, and we can at least see them.
there's some
Yeah,
hands.
I know Siobhan was one. I know Beverly Brummers was another one that was
I mean, they can
curious
raise
about
their own
that.
hands. They can raise their own
Yeah,
hands.
they're raising.
Okay, good.
They're raising.
So let's back up and say, how can you get the invite in the first place? That's that's part of it. Because if there's 1,000 submissions for a particular role, I I don't ask 1,000 people.
I hear someone typing. Whoever's typing, if you
I,
could
I
just
just
mute
I just
yourself.
muted. Um,
Okay.
if um if I get 1,000 submissions, in order to audition, I do not ask 1,000 people to audition. That's just it's. I just can't. So I might ask 175. So how do you get to be part of that 75? And that is making sure that, like I said before, your headshots are all really good, your resume is good. If you have a clip that pertains to that kind of character, sometimes you may need to go in and adjust things, from audition to audition to audition. You may need to rearrange things. Maybe you're auditioning for a television project, so maybe you want to put TV shows first and film second. You're auditioning for a film, swap it. So depending on what you're auditioning for, and we all know that if somebody knows you, they're going to pay more attention to you. So for instance, if I don't know you at all, but I know 80 people on there, I might go towards the 80 people that I already know instead of another 800 that I don't know, 900 that I don't know. How do you get to know the casting people? Like this, doing when, I mean, there's a lot of us who do this. I've been doing this pretty much since the first month of the pandemic. I was doing my Lori Wyman's office hours every single Thursday, and Terry's been my guest many times over the years. And people would say, "Oh, casting directors are so hard to." No, we're not. Look at and how much did you pay for this? Nothing. So don't tell me I don't have any money. Right? No, no, this is not hard to figure out. Also, now with social media, you can follow us. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook, and then you can engage with us. So I see, okay, I'm just gonna, okay, so I see Jeff Shepard. Okay, that's the first name that I see down there. Jeff Shepard has auditioned for me. He's here today. Now I'm seeing his name again. Sorry, Jeff, for calling you out. I see his name again today. So maybe next week or in a month, I have an audition and I see Jeff Shepard's name submitted to me. And I go, I just saw him on my thing, my Zoom with Terry. Let's give Jeff a shot. You know, we know, we know that people that we are familiar with are who we gravitate towards. It's just human nature. If you need a plumber, let's make it simple. If you need a plumber, someone gives you 5 names. 4 of them you never heard, but one of them has sent you a postcard, and one of them did a job for you about 4 years ago. I remember that name. And maybe your neighbor used that one. Oh, well, let's give that guy a shot to start with. And it's the same because I'm telling you guys, and this is not to make you feel scared or at all. There's a lot of you. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of you. You have to figure out how to stand out. That's your job. We cannot possibly know all of you. But because people like Terry and people like me, we have Instagram accounts and Facebook accounts and live Zooms. We do this specifically so we can meet actors, so we can know who actors are. And when I invite actors to these and I say, "Hey guys, you should come on." And then, they start boo-hooing. "Oh, no, you didn't request me." Like, "Were you on?" I couldn't. I didn't have time. Oh, I was busy. Oh, I forgot. I get, oh, I forgot all about it. Well, hello, get your little phone out and put a reminder on your phone. This is your job. This is your job. Here's the deal, guys. Your job is auditioning. Your job is getting the audition. Your job is this. If you do your job right and well, then you will get the part. That is how this works. You will get the part if you do the audition process the way it's supposed to be done.
Well,
So,
eventually they'll book. You don't always book it.
not you're not going to book every single time. I mean, nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody does. But
Eh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, what do you agree? Okay, now let's say you're picked. Okay, so now you're picked. Now you're one of the 75 people that are picked to send in a self-tape. Do you know out of 75 people that I pick, I would say, what, 50 submit videos? Everybody doesn't submit a video.
Yeah.
And I've heard excuses like, "Oh, I was out of town." What? I couldn't do it because I was out of town. In this room that I'm sitting at now, there's a ring light, there's a pop-up screen, there's a computer that I could load. There's all kinds of ways. I hosted a video. I hosted a class by a gentleman who's on the screen here, Dean Feldman. Sorry to call you out, Dean. All about how to do self-tapes when you're on
Thank you.
vacation, right? When you're on vacation in a
Mhm.
hotel room. You're in a hotel. Well, here's some hacks, you know? Make sure the wall behind you is blank. Or bring a piece of fabric with you every time you travel. You have a camera. You travel with a camera. My gosh. I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah.
No excuses. No excuses. So now out of 75, we invite maybe 50 of them send in a self-tape. Make sure yours is sent in earlier rather than later, just because of what Terry explained just a few minutes ago. If we can watch it sooner rather than later, we're going to. And if the client says, I want this now, which I've had, don't you have anything for me to look at? And I'm like, well, the deadline's next week. I need to see something now. So we send them what we've already got. And sometimes they book right there because they don't have time. So this happens all the time. The sooner you can get it in, the better. So those are ways to level up your chances.
Yeah, I'd like to add that the main thing is to be a good actor
Of
in
course.
whatever venue you're working in. No, study, keep studying. I'm not impressed with someone who says they're an actor. Oh, who are you studying with on an ongoing basis? Oh, I don't study.
I'm a
I
natural.
don't even think they're an actor. Part of acting, I would think you'd want to be studying because you're working at acting. What is a working actor? I did a blog on that. I'm a blog writer for casting networks. A working actor is someone who is consistently working at their craft. And the auditions come, and then somewhere in there you book, but you're a working actor if you're working at your craft. So, hand in really great auditions. Then after that, to stand out and to become on a casting director's radar is a process. It
Correct.
takes a month, a year, 3 years. Do things, network with your actor friends. They know friends, they know of projects, they know of a casting director. And I'll give you an example. Lori mentioned Dean, who's on this. I met Dean in a workshop. I didn't know Dean. I won't even use your name, Dean. I didn't know this
Oh, we're
person.
talking about you.
Oh, this person was good. Then about a year later, I saw this person was better. Then through social media, I saw this person booked this and that and that, and their look changed. And then this person knows technology. And so I got to be familiar with this person. And this happens with lots and lots and lots and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of actors.
Right.
So it's a process. So now when a project comes up, this person, Lori said she remembers everyone. I'm a little,
Well, not every, but a lot.
I can't. My niece, who is a casting director in New York, who happens to have a photogenic memory.
Photographic.
I don't. So I need the reminders. So the more that you network in a system, Jamie, who's my assistant, I've seen her do it. Especially with voiceover, she shares that more with me of she has friends, they're networking. I don't know if you have a wisdom that you want to pop in and say, and because we're gonna wind this up probably with one more question after Jamie, after you speak, we'll have one more question, then we'll tie everything up. Because we could talk for hours. Lori and I are friends, and we have spent days and days and a couple of weeks together at a time. And
Yes.
we can talk the whole time. So, but we're not
We
going to do
can.
that to you guys. We give you pearls of wisdom and then get off, and then you'll want more.
Yeah. And
Yes,
it's funny when
for
Terry
sure.
and I get when Terry and I get together, we actually this is the kind of stuff we talk about, because we are both passionate about this. We're very passionate about this. Sorry, Jamie, go ahead.
Oh, you're okay. I'm just answering a quick question in the chat. Yeah, and this actually kind of ties in perfectly what you're saying, Terry, because we got a question from DJ Cameron, if DJ's still on here and wants to pop up, that I can actually address in this, because it's about how I work as an actor and a casting assistant and how that kind of comes into play.
You want me to pin him?
Let me...
Uh,
Yeah, I got him.
There he goes.
Hi, DJ. Love your background. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey, what's
I wanna
going
be
on? Thank you.
there.
Where do
Awesome.
you
So,
live? Where do you live, DJ?
where do you live?
Looks like in LA.
I'm based in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, that's Orlando?
All right.
Yes.
Nice. So you had a question, right? Because you're considering
Yeah.
becoming a casting assistant yourself. So you wanted advice
Yes.
about that while pursuing a
Yeah.
career in acting?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can definitely answer that. I was very lucky enough to see a posting during the pandemic of Terry on social media. She was looking for a part-time remote casting assistant, and
Gotcha.
after we had a couple of interviews together, we ended up being a great fit, and we've been working together for years now ever since. And I definitely recommend it as an option. Of course, do your due diligence, because not all casting offices like to hire actors as their assistants, and then others do, or maybe there's certain conflicts. So I would look in the market, and with the type of people that might be right for you, put feelers out. But for me personally, it's been great, because as an actor, I've learned so much about casting and the whole process of booking people, working with agents, working with clients and producers and what they're looking for, and all the paperwork and everything that goes into it, that helps inform me as an actor. And quite honestly, it takes away a lot of my anxiety too, because we often submit things and then we just sit around wondering like, oh, did they see it? Did they like it? Am I ever going to hear back? But then once you see that and actually see, what clients are looking for, what factors actually go into play, how much of it is so outside of your control as an actor. Like, the best you can do, which I know Lori and Terry both touched on earlier, is bring your best work to it. And then the rest is totally out of your hands. And that's honestly so freeing, because if you know that you're showing up and being prepared and doing everything professionally that you can do, then that's great. And so it's a great learning process. Like Terry was saying, I'm also a voiceover actor. So whenever we're casting voiceover jobs, just because I know a lot of people from the community or taking workshops with them or things like that, I have a lot of people that come to mind, and I'll be like, oh, Terry, we should invite so-and-so to read for this. They have a perfect voice for this. They'd be really great. And so then over time, because we've gained trust and relationship, she will take my references into account. And like social media, like they touched on, is a great tool as well. There are a couple of people that I started following on TikTok because I was just really a fan of them as a person. And then that came up that they ended up being perfect for some of the castings that we were doing. So I thought of them immediately and was like, oh, we should request them to audition for this, because I can see what their skill set is. And those kind of people do pop up and stick into mind. So I think hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, I think it definitely, you can do both, certainly, and it's definitely a really valuable process. And even if you aren't able to get a job as a full-time casting assistant, maybe like reach out to people and offer to be a reader
Yeah.
for different auditions and things. A lot of people have actors come in and be readers, and that's a really great learning experience about being in the room and getting to see that whole side of it as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think,
Right.
oh, do we have one more question, or are we
I was
timing?
gonna
I
I was
see
gonna
a
ask, do you
question.
want to do
Somebody's
one more?
asking about feedback. Wanna, it says, what advice do you have for actors who struggle with not receiving feedback or feel like their numerous
Yes.
submissions are going? I like that question. Is Phil Sadler,
Phil Sadler.
are you around? Around like a donut.
Bill Sadler, hi.
Hi, yes, I'm here. That's a great workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you
More
know him,
you, Phil.
Terry? I don't know him.
Hi, nice to
Yes,
meet you,
Bill took
Lori.
my work,
Oh,
couple
see,
of workshops.
oh, good, because I don't know him. Well, now I know him. So I love your question about, so here's the question that Philip asked. Now I gotta find it. It's basically he's asking how do you get feedback as an actor? How do you, because sometimes and most
Yeah,
times you don't get feedback.
yeah, and just staying positive with your own, performance and your work, because so much we do, especially from COVID on, is in isolation, and we just put it out there, and I don't work a lot, and it's been a while since I booked anything, so staying positive and finding my best self. Any
Right.
helpful hints on that?
So yeah,
Yeah.
um receiving feedback and how do you stay positive? Um So the first thing with feedback is oftentimes you don't. Oftentimes you don't because if I see 2,000 auditions, I can't, even if it's like 500 auditions, that's hard to give feedback. If somebody asks me and they ask me in a timely fashion, I can respond by saying, the best thing I can say is, I didn't like it. It was too this or not enough that, or I thought he was great. I forwarded him on to the client. After that, I don't know, because I know I don't really get feedback from my clients. My clients say, book this person, and then they don't go. And the reason we didn't want to book A, B, C, and D is because of this. So I would definitely, if you are auditioning for something directly, not through an agent, if you found it on Actors Access, you send the audition in maybe a week or so later, you might send a follow-up saying, just want to make sure you received it. Any notes for me, any feedback, you would ask. I would definitely ask. If not, if it's through an agent, I would ask my agent, could you see if you could get any feedback from them? Because maybe when COVID first started, when the pandemic first started, there were an uncanny number of actors when they would slate and we'd say, could we have a full body shot? They were barefoot. Did you get that a lot, Terry? I got that a lot. And I would always say, where's the shoes? Here you are, a businessman in a suit and tie and barefoot. That's a very different kind of character, or simple things like television blaring in the background, dog barking, sirens going by. Like, could we just focus on the actor? So maybe you're not even aware of stuff like that. So if you could get feedback, because all of that stuff distracts and detracts from your actual audition. So ask. The worst thing that happens is they write back or they just don't write back at all. They write back and say, no feedback for you, or they don't write back at all. So that's that. The second part of that. Oh, Terry, do you want to respond on that too?
Yeah, I think you're standing in the wrong place. I think you should understand that you don't get feedback. We do not give feedback for every audition. So if someone would email me for feedback, I would think they're green or needy or didn't know what they were talking about.
Okay.
And I think your feedback is, like you said, you have to know yourself if you're doing a good job. If we're talking about theatrically,
Right.
you should be in an ongoing theatrical studying class. Every week,
Yes.
you're getting feedback. You're like an onion. You're peeling away the little layers to get to deeper and deeper good acting. I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Are you in an ongoing acting class?
Currently, I am not, although I do regular workshops in motion capture. That's kind of my new thing that I'm doing now,
Good.
working with Richard Dorton. And so that's been more of my focus in acting. And it's really kind of freed me up doing these cinematics, which are, very kind of heightened scene work. So it's been really fun.
Fantastic. So first of all, I love
So I'm
that
in a community of
moment.
that working this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm saying at the moment, you found something that you're really focused with. I'm saying at the moment because actors, all of you on here, you have a right to change your mind at any time and be focused on something else. So I love that. I love that you're getting feedback. I think you've answered your own question. You even said, it's not just movement. Like, what's the expression you use? The kind of
Mocap, so it's
No,
motion
I know the
capture.
mocap, but you said
Oh, cinematics.
yes.
Cinematics, yeah.
So you are getting feedback. All of you should not expect feedback from us.
Yeah, I guess I want to just clarify. I hear you when you're, saying where I should stand, and I don't feel like I'm in that relationship of where, oh, I need to hear back. But I'm not made of stone either. And so, the process over time, uh, I can't help but like, oh, did I, am I in the right lane? Or am I, completely over here? And you just don't know. You just
Take
don't know.
go take a refresher
Yeah.
or like, first of all, I'm a fan of yours.
Thank you.
Phil took my workshop and be on the lookout. Like sometimes I have one night advanced refreshers, or you could
Sure.
jump
Okay.
in for 2 nights,
Mhm.
and you'll get feedback.
Great.
And
Thank
then
you.
Lori, do you want to answer?
Okay, and then the second part of your question, which is really important as well, how do you stay positive? How do you keep going? I know what I do. I mean, because just because we're casting directors doesn't mean we don't experience the same emotions you do because we're all human. But I I personally love watching motivational videos. Recently, I watched a couple of motivational videos, Bryce Dallas Howard and Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo said he had 800 auditions before he started booking. That's a lot. How many of you would have quit way before then? John Krasinski, he called his mother a couple months before Christmas this particular year, and he said, "I'm coming home. I don't like LA. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't take it. I'm not booking anything. I want to go home." And she said, stay through Christmas." "I don't want to stay through Christmas." "You're going to stay through Christmas." And she made him stay through Christmas. And between the time he called her and Christmas is when he booked The Office. And I watch these because what they do for my mind is it says to me, just keep going, Lori. Just keep going. When it looks bleak, maybe that's the time that things are going to blow up. Many, many, many years ago, I was doing BL Striker, which was a Burt Reynolds television series, and it was coming to the end of the season. I had no more job prospects for the rest of my life. And I would wake up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and stare at the ceiling in that panic. And I know you all know that panic and that anxiety. Oh my God, I'm going to be homeless. I'm never going to work again. I'm going to starve to death. That panic. We all go through it. Whoever you are, you're human. And I went to talk to somebody about it. And I said, I'm going to blow up. I mean, my heart's going to blow up. The anxiety is overwhelming. And she said to me like this, she put it as a third party. And she said, well, what are the chances that Lori Wyman will never work again? And I like some person that came out of me defended Lori Wyman. And I said, of course Lori Wyman is going to work again. She went, uh-huh. And I went, oh, uh-huh. And she said, what month are we in? And we were in the month of May. And she said, do you normally work in the month of May? I said, no, May is normally a slow month. She goes, so what's the matter with you? May, you're in May. May is normally a slow month. You're not working. Hello? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what I learned to do, and this, I did Striker, this was 1990, so it was a long time ago. But what I learned to do for me is that when I'm not working, that's the time to clean out a closet, organize whatever, take a trip. Do and believe and trust that I'm going to work again. Terry and I have had a couple really nice trips. Been to Key West. We've been to Joshua Tree. Terry's been here in the mountains. These are times when we're not busy casting. So we utilize that time effectively instead of sitting every morning going, oh my God, I'm not working. And I go, oh, okay. I'm not working. Time to clean out the closet. I'm not working. Time to start exercising, take advantage of the downtime because it's not going to stay that way forever. It's just not. Instead of going into the past, and you've got to stay positive and you have to stay away from, I call them the naysayers. Stay away from the naysayers. Stay away from the people who are not in our business, who are going to look at you and go, what is this craziness? When are you going to get a real job? How many actors out there today have heard that lovely sentence? When are you going to get a real job? So this is a real job. I make real money and I love what I do. This is a real job. So stay away from those people who are, they poo-poo what you're doing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to keep yourself positive, to keep yourself motivated. And like Terry said, you're not working now? Get into a class. Work on your craft.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. But I'm not saying you, but in general,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
all the people that are listening, in general, get in a class. I was doing a series years ago called Ballers. It was a popular series. I don't think it's still on, and there was one of the series regulars, pretty little girl. And she came into my office one day because she needed me to put her on tape for a potential job, upcoming job. Series regular, guys. She was a series regular. And I said to her, what are you going to do after this? You're going back to LA? She goes, yeah. I said, what are you going to do when you go back to LA? Her answer was not, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm going to change my wardrobe. She just was a series regular for a year. Her answer was, I'm going to go right back into my class. I'm going to go back into my weekly studying. That's what her answer was. Because she knew she had to keep it. It's like working out. You work out and you get your body in the greatest shape. You've eaten well, you've lost weight, you're firm. What happens if you stop working out? You gain a little weight, you get a little soft. The muscles go from here to here, I mean, and this is what acting is. It's a muscle and you have to constantly work it. The more you work it, the better you get. I've seen it. I have seen it. The actors that are working on it get better. The actors who say, yeah, I'm good. They come in an audition. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? So how do you stay motivated? You've got to motivate yourself and stay around people that are positive. That's my spiel.
Every
Thank you,
Friday,
Lori.
words of wisdom, very inspirational. And every Friday, Berland Casting, look at that Phil's picture. You should be doing print. Why don't you email me? You should be doing print too. Hope you have a print agent.
Look like a good bad guy.
Email me. Oh, every Friday we post, it's Inspirational Friday at Berland Casting. So we post every day on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else. But those are the two main ones. And we have Inspirational Friday, and Jamie picks out it's always a celebrity telling a story, like Lori just told us that story. Not only do we post it, I listen to that. I get inspiration from that. I totally agree with Lori. We need inspiration too. We go through the same things you go through. We're all in our own business. And we just, I love these. I have a really great feeling about the group that those of you who are with us today.
Yes.
We get closer this way. There's more understanding. It's more humanized. So it's great that social media went into that we could use this medium. So is there anything that you would like to say, Lori, to end our fabulous meeting?
Well, there's a saying that I've heard that I love, keep on keeping on. And if you just keep on keeping on and you do what you're supposed to do and you stay positive and you do the footwork, you just do the footwork and the rest will follow. And keep doing the footwork. Stay positive and keep joining things like this. Do what you know you're supposed to do. And at some point, it happens. At some point, it clicks. It really does. I've seen it. I've got a lot of people on here that I know that are joining this with Terry because of me. And I know I've seen these people work really, really hard and start to book. And it's like, oh, it's working, it's working, it's working. So just don't give up. Don't give up. That's what I would say.
It's a great way to end. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day, a great weekend. Lori, you can be in touch with Lori. I think I've seen on the chat how to get in touch. Lori's website. Who's waving there? Blanca.
Yeah, Blanca, good.
Um,
I can put my Lori at LoriWymanCasting.com, but also Facebook.com/Lori Wyman's office hours. I think
Lori has an office hours once a week. It's free.
once a month. Now it's once a month.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, once a month. I meant to say that.
Oh, it's once a week. Yeah.
There's conversations, very valuable once a month. Lori gives workshops where people are very successful from them, and also has workshops on the technical side of your auditioning. So that's all listed. You can find that
on the calendar. Yeah. All right, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry, for inviting me. This was a lot of fun.
It was great seeing you and chatting with you.
I know.
And everyone, of course, you have terryberlandworkshops.com and info@berlandcasting.com. And we say goodbye and Jamie, thank you so much. Come on up here. Come on up.
There she is.
Thank you for facilitating everything. The organization.
Of course, thank you.
Very organized. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lori, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and wisdom and coming on today to share all of these amazing nuggets. You and Terry, I always learn something new all the time and I'm always inspired. And this was definitely an inspirational way to kick off my weekend. And thank you so much for everybody for joining. Like we said, you have all of our info, you have the websites, contact info, our social handles. You can stay up to date with everything that both Lori and our office are doing there. So thank you guys so much and have a great
Yeah,
weekend.
watch out for our next inside room. It's going to be someone who's very successful in anime and animation.
Allie might like
He's not a Hollywood A-lister. So it's going to be how you can be successful in that venue without being a Hollywood A-lister.
What's the date on that one?
I don't
So
have
that
it.
one, yeah, I
We'll be
think
posting.
we're solidifying. It'll be shared.
Oh, okay, okay. Just gonna mark it down.
Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Bye,
Don't
everybody.
forget to stop
everyone.
recording.
Thank you. Happy August.
Thank you.
You're welcome.